Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. What's running your life right now? Is it clarity and confidence, or is it anxiety, stress, and emotional fatigue? Because here's the truth. You cannot live an extraordinary life with a mind trained for survival instead of success. We live in a world where stress has become a lifestyle. Chronic anxiety feels normal. Overthinking is glorified. People are functioning but barely living. And if you don't take control of your internal world, the external world will always control you. But I'm here to tell you something powerful. You can retrain your brain. You can rewire your nervous system. You can take back your peace, your presence, and your personal power, because stress isn't just a reaction, it's a repetition. And what gets repeated gets rooted. Every emotion you feel is a signal, and stress is a signal that your brain believes you're under threat. The problem is, most of the time, you're not. You're reacting to thoughts, not threats. You're reacting to stories, not facts, and the brain, when left untrained, will default to fear. That's why you have to take charge of the narrative. You have to become the director of your emotional state. Today, I want to speak directly to the part of you that's tired. Not just physically, but emotionally. The part of you that's been carrying the weight of stress, anxiety, fear, and silent battles no one else sees. We live in a world that teaches us how to perform, how to hustle, how to keep going, but rarely how to heal, breathe, and rise. This isn't just another motivational message. This is a call to awaken the power within you to retrain your mind, reclaim your peace, and reset your future. Because the truth is, you are not broken, you are becoming. If you've ever felt stuck in fear, paralyzed by overthinking, or overwhelmed by life's demands, this moment is for you. So lean in, open your heart, and get ready to remember the strength that's already inside of you. Let's begin. Stress is a learned pattern, not a permanent condition. What gets repeated gets rooted. Most people live under the illusion that stress is something that just happens to them. That it's an unavoidable byproduct of circumstances, work pressure, or difficult relationships. But the truth is, stress is not just about what's happening around you. It's about how your mind has been trained to respond to what's happening. Over time, your nervous system starts forming patterns based on repetition, not reality. If you keep responding to uncertainty with panic, to pressure with self-doubt, to challenges with fear, those responses get hardwired into your brain. You begin to normalize the chaos. You start believing that this overwhelmed, anxious state is just who you are. But it's not who you are. It's simply what you've practiced. The brain is not fixed. It's adaptive. It learns through repetition and reinforcement. If you repeatedly think a certain thought, feel a certain way, or act in a certain pattern, the brain strengthens those neural pathways. That means stress is not a condition that owns you. It's a signal that you've rehearsed a particular emotional response so many times it's become automatic. But what's automatic can be rewired. What's conditioned can be changed. The key is understanding that your emotional responses are not permanent truths. They are practiced programs. Your body and brain are always listening to what you feed them. If you consistently tell yourself, "I can't handle this," "This is too much," or "I'm always stressed," your mind doesn't argue, it obeys. It runs that script again and again until it becomes your default. You feel stuck, not because you are, but because your nervous system is running the same loop it always has. But loops can be broken, patterns can be disrupted, and just like you learned stress, you can learn strength. Every time you respond differently, every time you breathe through the moment instead of reacting in fear, every time you speak power instead of panic, every time you choose calm instead of chaos, you begin to retrain the nervous system. And it doesn't happen in one breakthrough moment. It happens in the micro decisions, the everyday choices, the quiet internal rewiring that happens when you refuse to repeat what no longer serves you. The problem is, most people wait for the stress to disappear before they make a change, but that's not how change works. The stress doesn't go away first. The pattern does. You have to interrupt it at the root. You have to say, "This isn't mine anymore." You have to stop reinforcing what you don't want. That means being radically intentional with your thoughts, your words, and your state, because the brain will repeat whatever you rehearse. Rehearse stress and you'll live in it. Rehearse strength and you'll rise from it. You don't need to eliminate every stressful situation to be free. You need to eliminate the internal habit of turning every situation into a stress response. You need to stop making stress your identity. You are not wired to stay anxious forever. You've just been repeating it long enough to believe it, and what's been repeated can be rewritten. Awareness is the first step to transformation. You can't change what you're not conscious of. Most people are walking through life in a reactive state, responding automatically to stress, triggers, and emotions without ever pausing to ask why. They wake up anxious, go through their day overwhelmed, and end it exhausted, yet never stop to examine the root. They accept their reactions as part of who they are, not realizing that these emotional loops were built over time and reinforced by unconscious repetition. True change never starts with doing more. It begins with becoming more aware. You cannot fix what you won't face, and you can't face what you refuse to acknowledge. Awareness is the spotlight that exposes what's been operating in the dark. It shines truth on the hidden beliefs, conditioned fears, and emotional patterns that have been running your life behind the scenes. Without that light, you're simply reacting, living on autopilot, mistaking survival for living, and never fully stepping into your power. Awareness is what brings you back to the present. It interrupts the trance of "this is just how I am" and opens the door to maybe there's more available. When you start becoming aware of your thoughts, not judging them, just observing them, you begin to reclaim authority over your mind. You notice when your inner dialogue is beating you down. You catch the moments when you shift into scarcity, fear, or self-sabotage. You begin to see the connection between how you feel and what you're focusing on. Most people try to change how they feel by changing the external world, but when you become conscious, you realize that lasting change begins inside. With awareness, you stop being a victim of your patterns and start becoming a student of them. You begin asking questions instead of making assumptions. Why do I always feel anxious in the morning? Why do I shut down when I'm challenged? Why do I overthink every decision? These questions are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you're waking up. They are invitations to step out of reactivity and into responsibility. You stop blaming your circumstances, your past, or other people, and you start owning your power to respond differently. Awareness also gives you choice. When you're unconscious, there is no choice, just reaction. But when you're aware, you get to choose your response. You can choose to pause before you lash out. You can choose to breathe before you break down. You can choose to see the situation with new eyes. That is the beginning of transformation, not in changing everything all at once, but in realizing that you can respond differently in this moment, and then the next one, and the next. Every breakthrough starts with awareness. Until you become conscious of the patterns driving your life, you are powerless to change them. But the moment you become aware, you interrupt the automatic and open the door to the intentional. Awareness is not the end goal, it's the beginning. It's the ground zero of transformation. The moment you see clearly, you reclaim the power to rebuild, because you can't transform what you won't look at. And the truth is, the moment you become aware, you're no longer stuck. Your awakening, interrupting the stress pattern through movement and breath, is essential. Motion changes emotion. When you're locked in a state of anxiety, overwhelm, or fear, your body and mind form a loop. Your thoughts trigger stress responses in the body, and your body's tension sends signals back to the brain that reinforce the emotional state. This feedback loop keeps you stuck, spinning in the same cycle. But here's the truth most people never realize. You can't just think your way out of stress. You have to move your way out. You have to use your physiology to interrupt the psychology. The body is the gateway to the mind. When your shoulders are slumped, your breathing is shallow, and your posture is closed, your nervous system receives a message that says, "I'm in danger." Your brain then reacts accordingly, increasing cortisol, speeding up your heart rate, and preparing you for fight, flight, or freeze. But if you shift your body, stand tall, breathe deeply, expand your chest, lift your eyes, you disrupt the signal, you tell your brain, I'm safe, and in that shift, you begin to rewire your emotional response. Movement doesn't have to be intense to be powerful, it just has to be intentional. A walk outside, stretching your arms, shaking out your body, or even changing your facial expression can reset your state. When your emotions feel overwhelming, motion is the fastest way to reclaim control. That's why some of the world's most effective leaders, performers, and high achievers incorporate physical rituals before stepping into stressful environments. They don't wait for their minds to be calm. They use their bodies to lead their minds there. Breathing, in particular, is a master key. Most people breathe unconsciously and shallowly, especially under stress. But intentional breathing is one of the most powerful tools you have to reset your nervous system in real time. Deep, diaphragmatic breaths slow your heart rate, calm your brain, and shift your body from a state of panic into presence. One technique as simple as inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and pausing for 4, known as box breathing, can bring immediate calm. Breath anchors you in the now. It reminds your system that you're in control, not your fear. This is why practices like yoga, martial arts, dancing, or even power walking are so effective for stress. They combine breath, movement, and intention. They help release stored tension, increase oxygen flow, and stimulate clarity. When you move your body with purpose, you move your energy with power. You interrupt the loop of stress and redirect it toward progress. Every time you move with purpose and breathe with awareness, you're sending your brain a new message. You're retraining your system to respond differently. You're proving to yourself that you don't have to be held hostage by your emotions. Stress may knock on the door, but you don't have to let it in. You can move through it, you can breathe through it, and in doing so, you take back your power. Not someday, but in the very moment it's being challenged. Motion doesn't just change emotion, it transforms it. Daily repetition of empowering self-talk rewires the brain for peace, clarity, and control. Most people go through life unaware of the power their inner dialogue holds. They speak words to themselves they would never say to someone they love, and they do it on repeat. I'm not good enough. I always mess up. No one listens to me. These silent statements become mental scripts, and over time, those scripts become identity. The brain listens. It absorbs every word. And through constant repetition, it begins to shape your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. Your brain is not fixed, it's programmable. It operates based on what it hears most consistently. If it's been hearing fear, doubt, and negativity, then that becomes your operating system. But the moment you start feeding it truth, strength, and belief, you initiate a new pattern. Empowering self-talk isn't about lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously choosing language that aligns with the future you want to create rather than the fear you want to escape. When you speak words like I am focused, I am strong, I can handle this, you aren't just saying affirmations, you're building new neural pathways. Each repetition is a signal to the brain that this is the new standard, and because the brain doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real, it begins to adapt. It starts building a new emotional baseline. The more you speak peace, the more you feel peace. The more you affirm clarity, the more your mind begins to filter out distraction. The more you declare control, the more your decisions begin to reflect it. But here's the key, it has to be daily. You can't rewire a belief that's been reinforced for years with one motivational moment. It takes consistency, it takes repetition. This isn't about hype, it's about habit. Just like going to the gym once won't transform your body, speaking truth to yourself once won't renew your mind. You need to show up daily, not because it's convenient, but because your future demands it. The words you speak to yourself first thing in the morning set the tone for the rest of your day. Before the emails, the demands, the distractions, what are you planting into your mind? Are you reinforcing fear and pressure, or are you programming peace and power? That first hour, that first conversation with yourself, holds the potential to elevate or erode your entire state of being. Empowering self-talk is also a form of self-leadership. You become the coach you need. You stop waiting for others to affirm you because you've learned how to affirm yourself. And the beautiful part, the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. What once felt forced eventually becomes fluent. You start believing what you say, living what you believe, and embodying the person you once only envisioned. In a world that constantly tries to program your mind with fear, comparison, and limitation, daily repetition of empowering self-talk is how you take it back. It's how you create space for peace in the chaos. It's how you build clarity in confusion. It's how you claim control in moments that once made you feel powerless. Your words are your tools. Use them daily. Use them boldly, and watch how your life begins to align with your language. You must choose to rise above fear and anxiety by consistently showing up for your mind. In today's world, fear is not just an occasional visitor, it's a constant presence. Anxiety has become a silent companion for millions of people, creeping in during moments of stillness, whispering doubt during times of progress, and overwhelming the heart when clarity is most needed. But fear is not the final word. It is a challenge, a signal, not a stop sign, and rising above it doesn't begin with your environment or your circumstances. It begins with your commitment to master what's happening inside your own head. Most people show up for their jobs, their families, their responsibilities, but they rarely show up for their mind. They don't create space to train it, to quiet it, to direct it. Yet, the mind is the command center for every decision, every emotion, every action. If you neglect it, fear will win by default. It's not that fear is more powerful than you. It's just that you've let it take the driver's seat for too long. The truth is, you cannot rise above what you won't confront. And you cannot confront what you don't consistently train. Showing up for your mind means having a daily practice of presence. It means tuning in before the noise of the world tunes you out. It's waking up and choosing what you feed your brain before fear has a chance to starve your courage. It's about declaring, I don't live by default, I live by design. Every moment of intentionality, whether it's meditation, journaling, breathwork, or focused self-talk, is a brick laid on the foundation of inner strength. Over time, those bricks become a fortress that fear cannot penetrate. Anxiety thrives in passivity, it grows in silence and inaction, but when you actively work on your mental resilience, you shrink its influence. When you journal your thoughts instead of drowning in them, when you speak truth instead of replaying worst-case scenarios, when you move your body to shift your state, you reclaim the territory fear once occupied. It's not about never feeling anxious again. It's about refusing to let anxiety be the boss. It's about building the habit of mental leadership. This choice to rise above is not a one-time decision, it's a daily one. It's choosing to get back up when fear knocks you down. It's choosing to interrupt spirals of negative thought before they take root. It's choosing to breathe deeply when your instincts want to panic. And most importantly, it's choosing to believe that fear is not a reflection of your future. It's just a reaction to your growth. Growth feels like fear at first because it stretches you, but what once triggered anxiety can, over time, become your training ground for strength. Every day that you show up for your mind, you prove to yourself that you're not powerless, that you're not fragile, that you're not a slave to the noise. You become stronger, calmer, more rooted in who you are. And from that place, fear loses its grip, not because it disappeared, but because you rose higher. So here's what I want you to remember. You are not your fear, you are not your anxiety, and you are not your past patterns. You are the one who gets to choose. You are the one with the power to retrain your mind, redirect your energy, and reclaim your peace. Yes, it takes work. Yes, it takes repetition, but you are worth the work. You are worth the consistency. You are worth the transformation. Every time you choose to show up for your mind, you're planting seeds of strength. Every time you speak truth over fear, you're building a new future. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin. You are the moment, you are the turning point, so rise up, stand tall, breathe deep and take the lead. Your breakthrough doesn't happen someday, it begins today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for believing in what's possible. Your next level is already waiting, go meet it.